Stressing out when it's your turn to go and serve the ball, always feeling anxious if somebody missed the serve before you and now you feel pressure to put the ball into the game. Let's break down the serving patterns, what you need to do, how we can change the height of your toss and the direction of the ball. Hi everyone, my name is Natalia Klemenova and I'm an international player from overseas. I've been playing volleyball for the past 27 years and now living in Canada, I started coaching. And the whole idea of building this YouTube channel and even the school where we teach volleyball was how we can break down and deliver in a way easier manner all those bigger standards and expectations that I've heard throughout playing professionally. And then people that are beginners or even adults who want to play in adult leagues, want to escalate their playing abilities, will be able to use these little tips and theories to advance their playing careers. So stay with us if you want to improve your serving. That's going to be our focus for today. Before we will move forward towards the exact ball contact, I want to break it down a little bit more simple, something on the floor that we have a little bit more control of rather than being in the air if somebody wants to work on the jump float, for example. So major understanding for us today will be that when we walk, we have a natural switch between our feet and arms. For example, if I step with my left, my right arm moves and then I switch right and left. When people serve with the same arm and leg, it's called goofy foot. Fun fact that somewhere in the 80s there was a Disney movie about Mickey Mouse and Goofy was surfing, and actually instead of doing with the left foot forward, he served there with the right. So actually that kind of fun fact traveled through majority of sports. So now every time when a person does same foot, same arm movement, snowboarding, surfing or like volleyball, we say it's a goofy foot person. So in order to avoid that, you need to understand that if I am stepping, if I am right-handed, my left foot should be forward, or vice versa. If I am left-handed person, it's left, right, and I'm finishing with a cross. So kind of you're trying to avoid this type of movement. Second part, before we will start talking about the exact contact, let's say that we need to toss a ball. And a great question would be, do I toss with two hands, one hand, opposite hand, or the same hand? So if I will be talking about a very basic standing serve, I would toss with the opposite hand. I am a right-handed person, so my toss will happen with left. And here the tricky part starts. Where do I toss the ball? How high do I toss it? Is it tossing forward or backwards? So common things that you want to avoid. If I stand and I toss the ball and I need to arch before I touch the ball, it means the toss was moving backwards. A lot of this movement can happen when you are using the fingers tossing all the way back. So we will try to toss the ball moving forward, and I will show you the drill that you can practice to master that consistent type of a toss. The next part, what can cause the arching during the serve, is that the toss is like so close that when you are making a larger step, you are covering too much of a distance. That's why you're already accelerating towards the court and leaving the ball behind. So some of the coaches would teach you that my starting position will be, if I'm right-handed, left foot forward, ball in my hand, my arm is already ready to serve, and I will serve something like this. I feel that naturally, even for me, playing for so many years, it's a very uncomfortable position because I have to generate the power that will collide with the ball from my foot without any body help. So when I'm especially working with the younger players, when they are weaker naturally because they are just growing, I suggest that you start neutral and then you add an extra step. So for example, again, if I'm right-handed, I will start with the right foot forward, and then when I will be transferring my weight for the step forward, I will toss the ball. So it's going to look like this: neutral, step, toss, finish. Here, you will notice that you will have a little bit more of a momentum. So now I have a light acceleration, so I can use my body weight to the serve instead of just relying on a very explosive muscle movement. So it will help you to originally put the ball in a little bit faster and stronger manner. So now we will talk a little bit about your body position and in order to generate a little bit more power. Don't quote me, but that's what I do when I describe the explosive power generation in the body. So if you would imagine any type of a movie from 80s or 90s where people would be like punching something, I always show the kids that that's not how I punch. So if you would see any type of a boxer like video, like they always stay in a split, they are grouped, their core is a little bit more engaged, and the power goes from the hip and then towards kind of like the jam, whatever. Again, not professional in boxing, so don't quote me in this. So now it means if I will be stepping forward and I'm arching slightly here, I need to engage my glute and hamstring to push my weight more forward. So then I go hip, shoulder, elbow, and finish. So then I can get a little bit more powerful touch. Boom, arch, and then I finish. So I want you to generate the momentum through your legs instead of just driving your hand. And here I can compare. For example, if you stay in this position and you move your hand to the ball, so something looks like this, you will never be able to generate enough power. Think that you will be driving your elbow, so something like this, and then the hand will finish like a whip. So your job is to have this type of a sound when you are hitting the ball. So if I stay, I make a movement, step, arch, and then I have a very explosive sound. Here's a little drill that you can use in order to master the consistency of your toss. You will stay in your split, the same as kind of gonna be our final movement before the ball contact. A little bit, let's say, maybe foot away from the wall. We can show you a different angle after. So when I will have 1 foot away, I will stay in my ready position, elbow being back, kind of like in a bow and arrow. When I will toss, I will try to squeeze the ball to the wall. Imitating the same contact when I will be serving. One of the common mistakes that you may notice when you are tossing the ball and you are creating slight angle going backwards, you will have a gap between the ball and the wall, and that will create a very powerful bounce. So for example, it's gonna look like this. Hey, thank you. Then another part, you are a little bit too low. So now instead of hitting with my hand, I'm hitting with my forearm, or I'm a little bit too early. So then you would see that I'm contacting the ball with my fingers. So your job to understand the toss, where the ball will be going higher than your forehead, a little bit to your right side if you are right-handed, or opposite, a little bit more to the left if you are left-handed, and the ball we will contact higher than the forehead, a little bit in front. And so when you are pressing this ball, make sure that your core is engaged and you're pressing the ball to the wall. So if this is our ideal outcome, I want you to practice this before you will start serving. One of the options you can notice that I'm tossing with the opposite hand. You can try to toss with both hands. Some of the coaches suggest that by tossing here, your arm already has a natural pull more back. So again, you can explore the area and feel what works for you. So for example, same idea, neutral, toss, pull, and then a finish. Very similar movement. Another little suggestion for you would be to judge the flight of the ball after your contact, because I always encourage players to understand the cause and effect correlation. So for example, if you're trying to get as floaty as possible, so technically it means that the contact with the ball should not have any wiggling movement. So let's say we are not wiping, nor we are not patting the ball. So like if I will wipe, I will move like this, the ball will have a spin. So for example, if I will serve the ball like this, I notice that the ball was spinning to my right, which tells me that I've done something from my left to the right movement, so I cut it. Same idea, you can see what the ball does, so it will help you to understand where do you contact it, what causes that type of the flight. We will break down the common mistakes and common patterns, trajectories of the flight of the ball, so you can see if you notice your own mistakes and you could see yourself struggling with a similar pattern. Another little thing that I want you to imagine, that if there will be something heavy in your apartment and you need to move, so I would probably put all my weight and I will try to push it with all the directional force. I'm not gonna be pushing a heavy object somewhere to the side. Same idea happens with a ball. So if I wanna get the ball as hard as contact as possible, as predictable as possible, I wanna hit the ball in the middle. So then my hand after the contact will go slightly through, moves the object in the air, and then the ball continues the flight according to the collision. Little tip to also notice the difference between the push and the collision. So for example, if I'm pushing the ball, I'm creating more of like a slower kind of force to the ball instead of like a collision. So if I will go and I will slow down my hand, the ball also will not be flying. So we need to generate enough power that during the contact with the ball, A, you will hear the sound, something like this. And second, the ball will be flying towards the area you assumed, you hoped, you planned, and not somewhere else. So again, little suggestion, imagine that on your palm, on your hand, you have an eye, so that eye will be controlling the angle of the ball. Little nuance over here. So if I choose, for example, to serve to zone 5, my hips are already turning that direction. I do not want to add an extra angle with my hand. So technically, I don't want to go facing straight and then trying to redirect the ball. Here, make it more simple. Already choose your natural approach, facing that corner or facing straight, and just align all your body movement towards that direction. I will show you the basic common angles, how the ball is flying after the touch, and we'll try to break down and see what you should be looking for and how to adjust it. So for example, that's gonna be a typical player. It can be also you, and I will serve the ball like this. So if you notice, the trajectory is pretty high, almost like a rainbow. So then it's easier for the defenders to pass it because the ball will have a typical arch of a descending of the ball. So they can move and use their platform in order to pass this ball. So if our expectation is to create as horizontal, as hard type of a serve, where the defenders will be having the ball somewhere high up, which will technically make them lift, and the angle will be not as ideal, and they most likely will shank it instead of like arching all the way back. So we need to create a very straight line. So our hand should be moving a little bit more direct or horizontal according to the parallel line with the floor. Like that. Okay. So if this is our expectation, and then when you are trying to serve, you see something like this, you most likely creating the angle similar to the attacking movement. So then think that you have a very large distance between you and the net. Typically, let's say like it's 9 meters according to the end line. So if I create a small angle right now, when the ball is flying, it will start catching this angle and the ball will land into the net. So the only solution for you would be to try to change the angle in your wrist, maintaining the straight line. Another common issue that I see is a too relaxed wrist. So for example, people are doing something where they are not as strong in their wrist and it's not enough power. So the only solution for me would be, imagine that your forearm has a very solid attachment in your wrist and your wrist is not wiggly or not preparing with crazy angles. One little suggestion on my end is that I personally do not teach a too flat hand contact, because I do believe that the hand is already in the shape of a sphere, the same with the ball will be landing inside and you will have a little bit more control rather than to have a very flat hand. On this note, if you would watch any national tip ranking teams, one of the best teams serving a floaty serves would be Asian teams, and the suggestion shows that they touch the ball with a very small part of the hand, so then the ball kind of transitioning over the tape starts losing the power and it starts wriggling or losing the power and like dropping completely. So for you, the first beginner step would be to make 9 out of 10 serves as consistent as possible, so then you're not gonna be stressing out over your next rotation or turn to go on the serve, and the confidence builds over hundreds, maybe thousands of reps until you will get comfortable putting those balls over. So for you, it would be something similar. You stay neutral, step, toss, arch, and finish. Okay, more you can get comfortable with this type of serves, then you can escalate and go for the jump float or the spin, depending on what your preferences are. I hope we covered all those little details about the very standard standing serving. Let me know if you need a little bit more information about either of those aspects. But overall, I hope you will improve your serving. You will no longer stress about being that person who is gonna go next and serve after the person who just missed it. Let me know if you have any other areas you want me to cover. Otherwise, one more time, subscribe, click likes, leave the comments what you want to hear next. See ya.